Welcome to the ARKSTREAM. I'm VoxDay, voxday.blogspot.com, and as you know, Arkhaven Comics. We haven't done an ARKSTREAM in a while, but I thought that tonight was a good time to get caught up on some of the doings in the comics industry because there have been a couple of interesting stories that are taking place. Now, I know a lot of people that are subscribers here have no interest whatsoever in comics. I completely understand that. I didn't have any interest in comics myself until about 18 months ago. But, you know, the more I learned about the art of comic making, the more I came to respect the medium. And so it's an interesting challenge learning how to write comics. You know, when I first talked about the Quantum Mortis #1 issue with Ethan Van Sciver, he was very, very skeptical about my ability to decently write comics. I hope that I've demonstrated that I'm capable of making the transition from 900-page epic fantasy novels to that. Aaron is demonstrating why it's very, very silly to try to be a smart boy and show off what you know. Aaron, don't ever do that, because all that happens is when you try to show off knowledge that you don't actually have, then you just end up looking kind of foolish, because that font is not Comic Sans. In fact, that font is an actual comic font that Comic Sans is designed to try to look like. I think let's see, which one is it? It starts with an A. Oh no, it is CC Wild Words, which is a professional comic font that is used in order to produce text and so forth. And here's the thing. Here's how we know that you were trying to be a smart boy, because you referred to Comic Sans twice. You know, don't do that, because if you don't know what you're talking about, those of us who do know are going to call you on it. So, no, I'm not going to ban Aaron. I'm just trying to teach an important lesson, you know? So, anyhow, as you know, we've actually, we're very pleased today or tomorrow, you will be able to order the 6th of the Alt Hero comics. And it's kind of interesting because the doubters, the SJWs who were attacking us, were saying that these would never exist. They were saying that we could never manage to produce a single comic. And so here is... what's really great about it is the quality of the stuff is much, much better than anyone anticipated, frankly, including us. The paper is much thicker. You can't even call these floppies because they actually have proper paperback covers and thick. So this is the war in Paris. What's interesting is that we've actually heard from some of the Gilets jaunes who asked us for permission to use some of the images in some of the videos they're making, because it's the story involves Generation Identitaire with the black and yellow taking on Antifa in the streets of Paris. And so it's an interesting storytelling medium, but what's really interesting is the way that the comics are the planting the seeds for other forms of entertainment. And that's in the case of Marvel, possibly turning out to be a curse after being a blessing. John of the Rice says the print production of Arkhaven books is on par with novels, much higher than standard comics. That's because we came from novels. We still do novels. In fact, the first alt hero novel will be published very soon here. For Posterity says, can I still order all the issues of Alt Hero back from #1? Yeah, you can do it on Castelia Direct. But what's getting interesting is that if you note, here's 2 other comics that I want to show you because it shows some of the other stuff that we're doing now. This is not for sale. It is for sale in paperback, but the hardcover, these were specially produced for Dark Legion comics. That's what we call the comics that we don't create ourselves. We just publish them. John Della Rose did this, and it's got the same high quality internal stuff, high quality paper and full color printing, but we're actually able to do the stuff in hardcover as well. And what was interesting was we're about to publish our first Alt Hero Omnibus, which will be all 6 issues. But this is our first, truly big, full-sized omnibus. It's about 150 pages. Now, we did make some mistakes because, we're just learning how to do this. This is all new. And so, if you notice, we did a terrible job of using the internal cover because it's right next to this full color first page, and it's just over the top. No, Josh, this is not an infomercial. Don't be a fucking gamma. We're talking about comics. I'm letting people know about some of the stuff that we're doing. If you have a problem with that, go away. Okay? We'll get to talking about your Disney fetish here in a little bit. Okay? But this is related. This is related to the subject because what Marvel is doing and what Diamond have been doing and what we are working around is the end of the comics industry as we know it. And so when you look at the way that for example, the average price of a 18-page, very, very thin floppy is now $4.19. These, which are 26 pages and have, full color 24-page stories and so forth, $2.99. And we're keeping the price at $2.99. So we're switching to the standard size. We just introduced, I wish I could show it to you, but we literally just started producing them with the Metaman special for Dark Legion and with Chuck Dixon's Avalon #3. But we are switching to the standard size because it wasn't possible initially, but we lobbied our partner and they very graciously agreed to change to it. And so what we did is we are switching from this slightly smaller size. This is the size of a normal trade paperback, or a normal novel that you'd see. So we're switching to what will be a little bit narrower and a little bit taller, like a standard comic size. And so, and you can find them digitally if you want. They're on Amazon. They're at Arkhaven Comics, etc., etc. But why does it matter? Because these are the stories. These are the seeds of how we pass our culture on. It's one of the ways. And so that's why Disney bought Star Wars. They didn't buy Star Wars to make money. And yes, the omnibus for Jeeves is on sale now. They didn't buy Star Wars to make money. They didn't buy Marvel to make money. They buy these things because they literally want to destroy America. And that's why I strongly suspect that that script that was leaked about Avengers Endgame, it may or may not be real, but the fact that it ends with Captain America being killed, the fact that it ends with Captain America dying, means that, I mean, that's symbolic. You have to understand that these people speak in symbols. And they love the idea of killing America because they hate America. They're not Americans. They're not even part of Western civilization. It's something that they hate, and that's why they seek to destroy it. You know, if you look at the history of Disney over the last 30 years, it's all about subversion and inversion. It's all about the very wizardry that Owen talks about all the time. All right? So what we're doing here, I mean, look at this. What we're doing here is we are systematically violating the anti-civilizational narrative. You know, and so they're trying to destroy our national symbols. They're trying to destroy Superman as the representative of peace, justice, and the American way. They're trying to destroy Captain America as a symbol of America. And so what we're doing is we are fighting that at the source. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't believe, you know, I didn't believe how bad the cultural rot had gotten in comics until maybe 3 months, 4 months before we did the first Alt Hero crowdfunding campaign. And I couldn't believe it. You know, I wasn't a comics guy. I didn't know much about them. And so then I saw that Thor was a woman and Iron Man was a black girl and Captain America was a Nazi. I mean, literally everything was transformed, converged, destroyed. And it's not an accident. They hate it all. They've actually created a drag queen superhero. And so, you know, when you look at the way that they're trying to destroy the symbols, they're trying to destroy the heroes, it's all inversion, and it's all about destroying American culture and Western civilization. Gabrielle Bear asks, are all your comics in print? Most of them. Let me give you a link here, and you can see where the print ones are. There's two different sets. There's the Dark Legion, and then there's the Arkhaven. The Arkhaven is the stuff that we publish, that we create. So if you want to find them in print, that's where you can go. If you want to find them in digital, you know, we have our whole store and everything. Same place where you find the audiobooks, but in the comic section, as you can probably imagine. And there's also links to the print store from here as well. We don't have them totally integrated yet. So now, you don't need to tell me that comics are not the equivalent of the Sistine Chapel or Shakespeare. okay? I'm probably more of a literary snob than most of you will ever be. But what I recognized and what I realized is that it's not about me. It's not about my tastes. And it's not about my preferences. It's about what young men value. It's about what young men love. And so that's why we did what we did. You know, if you look at the women that we draw, you look at the women that they do. Theirs are all ugly and fat and obnoxious. Ours are pretty, attractive, and fun. And everything that they're doing to subvert, everything that they're doing to invert is stuff that we are against. And we absolutely know that they're doing this stuff on purpose. They're doing it in order to try to invert, subvert, and destroy. And so you have to start somewhere. You can't do everything. But we did this because people asked me to do it. And when we dipped our toe in, we were overwhelmed by the positive response. John De La Rose is actually writing the second alt hero novel. He's already finished alt hero Covert, which is the first one. I'm actually editing it right now. In fact, the reason why I was a little bit late was because I was actually working on the script for one of the new alt heroes. Ben, I'm so tempted to ban you. Almost look like a Star of David on her shirt. Don't be an alt retard, okay? Has Vox been infiltrated already? You're a moron. See, you don't follow any of this stuff, so you have no idea. It doesn't look anything like a Star of David on her shirt. It's the University of Alabama, you moron. Gosh. Look, in case you don't understand this, I don't like smart boys. Okay? Don't joke about that stuff. We have enough alt retards here. Do you remember why Owen says don't be sarcastic? Because you can't see sarcasm, among other things, you can't see sarcasm in print. How am I supposed to know that you were joking when you say the same kind of stupid stuff that an alt retard does? Okay? I'm glad I didn't ban you and so forth. Ben, there's 769 people on here right now. How would I know what you said versus what other people have said? Okay? Now, you don't have to apologize. I'm just trying to make it clear that this is not a great medium for that. Duralex Sedlex has a good point. Young guys would buy Rebel and Dynamique a drink at a bar. She-Thor and Muslim Miss Marvel wouldn't get a second look, and they'd cry about patriarchal body standards. That's correct. That's absolutely correct. And, so the thing that we are working on is telling really good stories, creating interesting characters, fun characters, characters that people like, characters that are the kind of girls you'd like to date and the kind of men you'd like to be. And so, some of the stuff is, some of the stuff is very triggering. Like, for example, do you think the SJWs are big fans of Rebel? You notice she's got and her signature pink AR-15. So symbols matter. They've got all kinds of symbology. And um, we're responding in kind because we believe in Western civilization. We believe that American culture is good. We like it, and so um, people are going to, people really spazzed out about this on Twitter and flipped out about it. And we still have to be a little bit careful because we can't put that on the cover. If we put that on the cover, then Amazon won't carry it. Now, we're almost at the point where we don't care. We're almost at the point where Amazon is irrelevant to us, but we're not quite there yet. And so, and the thing that I'm proudest of with regards to the comics that we've done so far with the alt hero story so far is that people even like the bad guys. We've tried to create characters who are not cardboard cutouts, who are just totally evil and cackling in their mwahaha, I'm evil for no reason just because. We try to create characters that are the exact opposite of what Marvel and Disney are doing. Because ultimately, they're about the lie. They're about falsehood. And we're about truth. The characters that we're creating, they love their country. They love their people. Even the bad guys love their wives and children. And Ethnarch says the villains are realistic. And Duralex Sedlex says he would love to punch Captain Europa. Wade Wilson says they're good in their own perspective. That's good writing. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we, it may sound a little funny, but Dynamique, despite being one of the bad guys, is one of my favorite characters. She's just fun to write. Rainbow is actually based on a guy that I knew from my nightclub days. Some of the dialogue from Alt Hero 6 is almost a direct quote of things I heard the guy say. He was hilarious. Complete degenerate, but hilarious. Frank Meadows, we have a U.S. payment processor. The print stuff you don't buy from Arkhaven, which has the European processor. The print stuff you buy from the Castelia Direct store, and that is Aereo, and that is all U.S. based. So you can actually get the print stuff now if you like. And Jacob Grimm says, Dynamique will be converted, you know it. I wouldn't be so sure about that. The characters will do what they... I'm not going to make a character a good guy just because I happen to like the character. The characters always have to be true to themselves. Yeah. Yep, you're banned. Jordan James says, ban me if you want. Ha ha. Okay, so we have a gamma. But I lost so much respect for you, like I care, when you said you think Tommy Robinson is doing what he does for attention. I didn't say that. That is so ridiculous. I think you're jealous. Well, it's always nice of the gammas to out themselves so that I can get rid of them. I don't think Tommy Robinson does what he does for attention. I think Tommy Robinson does partly because he believes it and partly because he appears to be paid to do it. So I don't know. All I know is that there um, appear to be some anomalies. The Observer says DNUM will only flip if someone pays her more than the Global Justice Initiative. And don't forget, it's tax free. So, um, Angry Polar Bear says the Gamma is secretly winning when you ban him. Exactly. Secret King wins again. Are any of the characters modeled after your sensei? No, but Alex would make a really good. He would make a really good character. I mean, he practically was a cartoon character. Who is your favorite superhero of all time, DC, Marvel? Honestly, I never had one. I mean, I like the Iron Man from the movies because Robert Downey Jr. is awesome at that. But my only real exposure to comics was my best friend had like 6 or 7 of them, but none of them were like the superhero comics or anything. They're always these like scary comics that invariably involved South American pyramids and women who turned into snakes and that sort of thing. And so, I just don't know. I mean, in terms of looking at it from the creative side, I think that Spider-Man is probably. I understand why Spider-Man is such a popular comic. But again, I'm more of a literary reader. The Studi says, I think what Tommy is doing is really good work, but Vox can say what he believes and it doesn't affect my view of Tommy at the moment. I'm not criticizing him. I am simply saying that I have some questions about somebody who puts themselves in front of the camera and at the fore of the story all the time. Now, maybe, again, I don't follow the stuff that he's into, but, I don't remember him. I mean, it's a good thing to oppose the Rotherham rapes and sex trafficking and so forth. No question. But I don't understand, behaving in such a way that you end up making yourself part of the story and accomplishing nothing. I mean, I don't pretend to understand it. And especially I don't understand it when, 1 minute you're protesting in England and then the next minute you're standing on a tank in Israel talking about how you want to fight for Israel. I mean, what the hell does that have to do with Brexit? Yes, I very much like historical fiction. The problem with the comics industry is not just the SJW stuff. I mean, that's a serious problem, but it's not the main problem. The main problem that they're having is that the nature of the business is the comic stores are getting squeezed. And so if the numbers add up correctly, Diamond makes about 22 cents out of every dollar that goes through the comics industry. And Marvel and DC do very well too. And so basically, the distribution channel eats up way too much of the profit. That's like more than twice as much as a distributor usually manages to make just for serving as the middleman. And the problem is that Marvel tried to go direct, failed, and ended up creating an opportunity for Diamond to become a monopoly. So Diamond has a monopoly control over the comic stores, but it's been strangling it. And so that's why we didn't even talk to them. People have asked us, oh, why don't you sell through Diamond and get into the stores? And we're like, we have no interest in that. We'll do better not doing that. And so, and if you look at what we've done is, we've published over 30 comics in the last year. And we're expanding our market all the time. More and more people are picking this stuff up. InfoWars is selling them now. And, now I don't believe, just so you understand, I don't believe the rumors that Disney is going to shut Marvel down now. I do think that Tom Pratt, who used to work for Disney Comics and understands how Disney tends to think, he's probably right. He's probably right that there are some accounting elements within Disney that are looking at the situation and saying, why should we bother with this? We don't need it. And so the one thing that Marvel could do to fix the industry, in answer to the question, is they need to cut down on all this variant cover stuff. We don't do variant covers. If you notice, what we do you see how there's a gold logo there? So but there's not a gold logo on this one. So this is our normal logo, the Arkhaven Comics logo. When we first ship a comic book, the first 2,500 copies have a gold logo. As soon as we get to 2,500, we stop selling those and we start selling the regular logos. So that's what we do for the collectors. That was a specific request from our collectors, from the comic book collectors that supported us. They asked, what could we do? And so we came up with that plan. They all approved it. And so that's what we do. But we're not going to do 5 or 6 different covers for something just to try to get people to buy more stuff. We will do a larger size and sell it for $4.99, and that will have a different cover. But there we're not going to do the gold logo thing. It's just going to be the one premium edition, and that's because we can't sell these $2.99 comics through the comic book stores with the margins that they require to be able to sell them. So, we're just trying to deliver what our readers want. And so, we believe that $2.99 is the right price for a single issue introduction. And so that allows us to just keep getting them out to everybody. And, we think that they're going to become more and more popular over time. We're not doing any video games on the comics right now. We're working on some other projects. In fact, what was shocking to me was that someone reported that I think it was January, 59% of the comics that were released that month, 59% were variant covers. So it's an industry that is beyond stagnant. It's an incredibly stagnant industry. And so it's not going to survive in its current format. For Posterity asks, is it plausible that white Americans will have minority rights when a minority? No. Or will there be excuses like saying they are a historical majority? Yes. Never ever expect consistency from the left. And never expect mercy from rival identity groups. Off topic, but did Tito push the diversity our strength thing in Yugoslavia? Not that I'm aware of. I don't think so. I think it was more the You are all Yugoslavians or else. So I don't think that the diversity is strength thing goes back that far. Hey Vox, do you think with all the propaganda surrounding Captain Marvel, how much money do you think it will lose at the box office? I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers. I just know that it will not do anywhere nearly as much as it's supposed to. Have you read any Will Wilder books by Raymond Arroyo? No, I have not. Comicalism says, I'm a little behind in the stream, but putting Rebel on the cover, you might consider doing variant covers sold exclusively through private retailers. I would certainly carry it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I understand what you mean there. Um, you'd have to explain that to me. But we are doing the premium covers that are larger. They're 10 by 7. They'll sell for $4.99, but have a 53% discount. Um, so I don't know if that's what you mean, or if you mean something like special custom stuff for specific shops. Um, we would do that, but we need to get larger orders. Um, Atomic Sweater, I like that. Atomic Sweater says, "Hi Vox, I'm from South Carolina. I often identify more with the South than with the USA. I can imagine. Is the South a separate nation to a certain extent, or should I support American nationalism as a Southerner?" Well, at this point in time, American nationalism is essentially defunct. Um, I mean, there's nothing wrong with supporting it. If you do, then you do. But identity is about who you genuinely see you are. If you're from South Carolina, it's not surprising that you're not very interested in the country that is sold as being your own by people in New York City and Hollywood. You know, I have no interest in or allegiance to that non-existent non-nation. Maybe you do. Maybe some people do, but I don't. Um, Crave actually has a good point. Sweater, think of it like being a Baptist. You're a Baptist, but other Christians are your allies. That's true. O1 should be in the next comic, Vox. I don't know what that means. Do you think Trump will win in 2020? Yes. And is he the last U.S. president anywhere pro-white? I don't think so. John Yosarian says, Dynamique swimsuit calendar when? Are you doing your own Comic-Cons? Not now. At some point we might. What's my favorite Psychosonic song? Good question. Honestly, my favorite song, it's not our best song, but probably my favorite song is the original version of Crank Freak, which had a different drum beat to it. I also like Cosmic Trigger, which was never released a lot. Off the second album, I like Alone. But I think the best song that we ever wrote is Sunyata, which was actually released under the name Basic Pleasure Model. Vox, will we have a nationalist backlash in the same way Europe has? No. America is too adulterated. There's too much European immigration, which adulterated the nation and created, civic nationalism, and then so too much of the nationalism becomes of the civic nationalist variety, which is not strong enough to resist the the intensity of the identity politics. Yeah, I'm concerned about it being over for baby metal. Um, you know, the 158 died, and Yui quit, and I don't know what they were doing with the new songs that they wrote, but they're just not very good. Um, Wonderful musicians, but it sounded almost like they had brought in different producers and different songwriters. Um, Reading Rebel Dead Revenge, it is good. Does Gary have anything more in the works? Uh, I don't know if he's got anything with us right away, but I know he's busy working on some stuff. Is there any hope for Ireland? Yeah, of course. There's plenty of hope for Ireland. They're behind everybody else on the whole global invasion thing. Um, and yes, the U.S. left, and not just the left. Remember, it's not about the right and left anymore. It's about nationalism versus global imperialism. And unfortunately, most of the nationalists are still more or less of the civic nationalist variety. Well, as long as they're hardworking and they want a better life, they can be just as American as anybody else. No, they can't. They will never be American. Never, ever. No matter how hard they work, no matter how much they want a better life. They have different traditions, different behavioral patterns, different priorities. Nationalist Bear says, any chance of repealing the anti-white 1965 immigration laws, Vox? No. Way too late for that. Try and Speak said, I suppose it was a problem from the U.S. from the beginning. It had a strong Anglo start, but it was never an ethnically based nation. No, it certainly was. It was absolutely a British nation. I mean, why do you think it was the Spanish who wrote our British brethren in the Declaration of Independence? Of course not. But they never, they felt that they had all this space and they could welcome everybody that was, reasonably compatible. And it wasn't that they were wrong. They weren't thinking about 200 years in the future when Britain and France were military non-entities and China was a concern. I mean, they couldn't have imagined that. They wanted to rapidly build up enough population so that they could keep their independence. Remember, they fought another war against Britain in 1812. Fencing Bear got her copy of Throne of Bones. Good. I hope you enjoy it. I'll be interested to see what you think of it. The Studi says, plan on getting my hands on some of those comics. Awesome. I recently purchased a few of your books. Ready to see what you and Big Bear have in store. Much love. Well, thanks. I think you're going to be pretty stoked about what we're doing. Try and Speak said, it didn't limit itself to Anglos. No, it didn't. That was the problem. You're missing the point. Okay? If I say, it's okay for other people to come and live in my house, that doesn't change who is living in my house now. You guys have to get over, so many people have this idea that in order to be X, it has to be formally and legally X. That's not true. The Soviet Union was an atheist state. It imposed an atheist society. But at no point was it ever legally an atheist nation or legally an atheist country or state. Albania is still the only formally atheist state that's ever existed. Even communist China, which is very against religion in practice and in law, is not officially atheist. So you need to stop focusing on what the laws were and pay more attention to what the society was. You see the same thing when they talk about Christianity. they say that um, yeah, Matt Vite, knock it off. That's enough. Um, the let's see. During your Bucknell years, did you enjoy Lewisburg? Not even a little bit. We considered it a big cornfield, and that's why there was such a heavy drinking culture there. Um, no, I I went to Williamsport once. And that was to fly out of the airport. Um, I mean, I probably would like it now, but at the time I was, you know, 18, 19 years old, and uh, I was used to Minneapolis and then Tokyo, so Lewisburg was not exciting. Um, he says, Vox, I agree with you. I think you missed. Yeah, I'm sure I did. I missed lots of comments. That's why I don't get too hung up on any of my answers to anything uh, that isn't completely limited to one. Justin Hutchings said, "If Canada is lost, should I get out? To where? To where are you going to go? You know, if you're Canadian, then I would recommend doing what you can do to preserve. I mean, here's what I don't understand what about questions like that. If Canada is lost, should I look? Canada is going to break apart. So you want to be in the part that will be most compatible with your Canadian traditions and values. It's not like these nations are going to vanish into the sea. We're not talking about the fate of Atlantis here. The Roman Empire is gone, but Italy is far from the worst place in the world. There are going to be parts of the United States that are going to be better than the USA is now. So the trick is to figure out where that will be and arrange your life accordingly. Just throwing up your hands and running away to try to what? You're not going to be accepted in Bulgaria. The Chinese are not going to welcome you with open arms. America is not in good shape. How long does it have, in your opinion? Well, I think Canada and the USA will break apart at around the same time. So in the 2033 timeframe. Truck My Ad said Trump's Space Force was written by the legend Chuck Dixon. He was laughing at some of the writing. It was great. Yeah, Chuck is magnificent. He's really good. We're working on a new project together right now, besides Alt Hero and Chuck Dixon's Avalon. And so, and I'm really looking forward to introducing that project to you all. I mean, the thing is that this is all normal. This is all part of the historical process. The world doesn't stay the same. It's always dynamic. And unfortunately, the world that we valued, the world that we knew, is lost. It's gone. And I do think that's a tragedy, because I do think that, that 1950s America was one of the high points of human civilization. Vox, do you have a favorite historical Native American chief? Not particularly, no. What happens to 401ks and pensions in the U.S. breakup? Yeah, you're not going to be collecting those. Vox, will you ever debate Matt Dillahunty? Almost certainly not. I don't know who Matt Dillahunty is, and I'm not really inclined to accept any debates that are not written these days. Is Christendom dead? Well, I mean, the historical Christendom is essentially dead. Christianity is not. Do you see the potential of a half collapse that lasts very long? I don't know what you mean by half collapse. Zowie Bear says $50 for a Darkstream tribute. I appreciate that. It makes me feel like somebody should be holding up a lighter. But thank you. Newton predicted 2034. Wouldn't that be funny? Nationalist Bear said, I wish I lived during the 1920s or the 1950s. It all depends what, these are the times that are the interesting parts of history books. These are the times that are interesting. So I think that you need to keep in mind that, we are living in exciting times. It's not going to be boring. Think about all those movies of the kids, or think about the Jordan Petersons who just desperately needed to get out of their small town because it's so boring. Now the older you get, the more you value a lack of excitement. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, the internet is an exciting thing. I mean, think about it. There's 886 people here watching this. We're able to have basically do the equivalent of what Mark Twain used to do. Mark Twain actually didn't live off his books. He lived off his author tours, his speaking tours. And here we are able to have these speaking tours, but we can do it every night. It's amazing. I mean, the fact that I can find the Collier Junior Classics and grab them all on an ebook and put them on one of my kids' Kindles or Kobos or whatever, it's astonishing. It's amazing. I love the fact, my wife is amused by the fact that I don't mind getting stuck somewhere in line or having to take a kid somewhere and wait for half an hour or something. It's great. I just kick back and read a book. I have an entire library in my pocket. It's the first time in history that's been possible. We live in fascinating times. So, that doesn't mean that there aren't tremendous challenges and awful things going on, but it's important to remember the positive aspects and the interesting aspects and the exciting aspects too. So, be aware of evil, hate the wicked, be ready to defend the innocent, but don't forget the joy of life. Don't forget the fascinating aspects of life. Don't let your curiosity be shut down. Do you think with the increasing speed of communication, the cycles of history will also speed up? It does feel that way sometimes. I have thought about that. Will you grow a mustache like the greats? No, I will not. Angry Bear Polar Bear says, enjoy the dessert cart on the Titanic. But again, we're not. The entire nation is not going to sink into the sea. Things are going to change. things are probably going to get worse because of how good we had it. But that doesn't mean that we're all going to be living in caves, you know, like cannibals. Vox, what do you think about the militant veganism agenda? I don't. I don't at all. Stop being so damn tolerant. Hey, I've actually written a piece. You can read it on the blog. It's called The Sin of Jeroboam. And I believe that tolerance is the sin of Jeroboam described in the Old Testament. Because he wasn't doing any of the really awful things. He was just tolerating them. He was accepting them, which he had a duty. He was failing in his duty to destroy the wicked things. He tolerated them, and that was his sin. And that is a sin that certainly the modern West has committed. So, all right, well, I should roll, but thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll see if Disney actually does kill off Marvel and Captain America in the next year or so. But I think if I had to bet on it, I would bet that they will kill off Captain America, but not Marvel. So we will see. Anti-Evil Soldier, Vox, any way of knowing a history book is mostly history and not propaganda? You have to rely on your instincts and see if it's in line with other histories. There's and you can also tell like whether an author tends to be honest or not. So Isaiah Haas says, "Love the streams, Vox. I've been jamming to Psychosonic all week." God bless. It's always fun to see that people are still listening to our old stuff. So, well, have a good evening. This is the Dark Stream. No, this is the ARKSTREAM. I'm Vox Day.